My name's Angelo, and welcome to We Want Picks. This is the only channel dedicated to UFC fight picks and DraftKings lineups run by MMA insiders and professional fighters. Every week, I join Dan Kramer and Nick Newell, two longtime professional fighters that have fought at the highest levels on the planet, as well as Jacob Lyons, a skinny kid from Indiana. So join us every single week for our full fight card breakdowns, our individual fight card breakdowns, our betting guide, and our DraftKings lineups. Next up at UFC Vegas 24, we have Jeremy Stephens versus Drakkar Klose. And this is an interesting one. It is a very close fight, honestly. The odds makers and DraftKings are going with Jeremy Stephens as the favorite. They think he's going to win. He's the tried and true vet, but he hasn't won a fight since 2018. So, Dan, what are your thoughts on that? You think that's an issue? What direction are you going?
So, yeah, I mean, I do think that was an issue, but is an issue. But when I was looking at the odds when they first dropped, I was like, oh, of course, Jeremy Stephens going to be, a favorite in this fight. And then I looked up his record, and he lost lost 4 of his last 5, and 1 was a no contest. But then I looked at the guys he lost to: Calvin Kattar, Yair Rodriguez, Magomed Sharapov, and Jose Aldo. So he's literally lost to all cream of the crop, top level guys. He's only 34 years old still, which, I mean, for the amount of fights he's had and everybody he's fought is pretty crazy. So it's not like he's that old. He did miss weight his last fight, which I think, had me a little concerned that I'm like, oh, maybe he's losing interest. But, after watching video, he looked good. He looked competitive in a lot of these fights. He's a very good striker. He hits hard. He's always aggressive, always pressuring. His defense is pretty solid. I think it's definitely better than Klose's. We'll get to that when we break down Klose, but he's got a versatile attack, leg kicks, body shots. He showed a couple takedown threats against Kattar. I don't think he got them. He may have gotten one at the end, but it just made me realize like it's in his back pocket as something he might be working on. That's one factor to consider. But the last thing on him is he's got a great chin. He got hit with a big right in the first by Kattar, and he ate it. I thought he was winning that fight until the middle of the second round. And then he got hit with a couple combinations, and then obviously that huge elbow that floored him. But, that would have knocked down anybody. And he still wasn't out cold. He was like he got up pretty quickly. So I think his chin is hopefully still there. Klose is also a good, powerful striker. He's won 3 of his last 4, and his only loss was to Beneil Dariush. He's got good striking, good boxing, really, some good, decent kicks. He's got solid wins over Mark Diakese, Bobby Green, Lando Venata. He hits hard, but I think the issue here is going to be his defense is a little suspect. He keeps his hands low. He's willing to kind of trade a little bit, again, kind of that take one to give one type of style. And I just don't think you want to do that against Jeremy Stephens. So, the fight against Beneil, the first round, he got his taken down, his back taken for the whole round. So whatever, scratch that. But the second round, he almost finished Dariush. But again, to my point, why I think he might lose against Stephens, he leaves himself so open in the exchanges that even when he had Dariush rocked, he just puts caution in the wind, leaves his hands down, and he's open to get tagged. So he ended up getting KO'd in that wild exchange. So I could see something very similar happening against Stephens. So I think that's going to be the factor. I think Stephens is just a more versatile, powerful striker. They both have probably equal power, but I think Klose's lack of defense will be ultimately what loses him the fight. And I think Stephens gets his first win since 2018.
Yeah, I tend to agree with most of that. I think, Jeremy Stephens is definitely the better striker. And I think the only path to victory here for Drakkar Klose would be to take Jeremy Stephens down. The problem is that's not that easy of a task. And even if you do take him down, he pops right back up. I mean, Zabit took Stephens down a bunch of times. But the key word is there a bunch of times, because that means he popped right back up. Zabit took
the other
him down.
key word there is Zabit.
Well, exactly. So Zabit's a phenomenal wrestler. He took Jeremy Stephens down, and then Jeremy Stephens popped right back up, and then he had to do it again. And, he just couldn't hold him down. So I think Jeremy Stephens is the better striker, the more powerful striker, the more dynamic striker. Drakkar Klose will need to take it down to win the fight. And I just don't see it happening. And even if he does, I think Jeremy Stephens pops right back up. With that being said, he hasn't won in a very long time. You did mention he missed weight in his last fight. So I just don't know. Maybe his head is not in it anymore. Maybe he's getting a little older. He's not in title contention, and maybe it's just showing up to make a check kind of thing. And that obviously would be a problem against sort of a young, hungry Drakkar Klose. But I have to assume Jeremy Stephens is all in, as he always has been. And I think he wins this fight, and there's probably a stoppage here. He's not in my lineup, but I did have a note to try to get him in my lineup. So I'll probably switch some things around because 8,400 is not that expensive for a guy who wants to strike and will probably win by stoppage. But Jacob, what are your thoughts here, and how do you see it go?
Yeah, I see this. First of all, Jeremy Stephens is one of the toughest guys, definitely for sure, like in the division, but in the UFC period. And his chin is unreal. Dan mentioned the guitar shots that he was eating was just like unbelievable. He gets stunned a little bit, but he does not go down very often. And Drakkar Klose kind of fights like a power puncher without power. It's very weird. He's got decent power, but he hasn't had a finish since 2015. So, you'd like to see that power transfer into knockouts and at least TKOs or something. I just think there's going to be too many exchanges without that finishing ability for Jeremy Stephens to get into with Klose. That I agree. I think Stephens is tougher. I think he throws faster and even harder. There's going to be too many exchanges. And I think Stephens finishes this fight. I think I even put a bet on Stephens to finish the fight. Originally I had Klose in my lineup just because watching Stephens, you see how often he gets hurt. He gets hit a lot. He gives them back, but he definitely gets hit a lot. And I'm like, okay, let me watch Klose and see what kind of power he's working with. And he just fights like a power puncher, but he doesn't have those finishing. And he had Dariush hurt, but then he got clipped. And if anyone's going to come back and clip you, it's going to be Jeremy Stephens. So originally I had Klose in my lineup. I whipped all the way to the other side, and I like Jeremy Stephens to win the fight, but I didn't put him in my lineup.
Yeah, it's I'm definitely looking forward to it, and it should be a sort of a gunslinger. Dan, what's in the red Solo cup? You mentioned you're drinking beers. Why are you refusing to show us the can? What is it? What embarrassing?
I was drinking beers. I don't drink beers.
What embarrassing beer are you drinking that it's in a Solo cup?
We don't show them unless they sponsor us. No, cover the label.
Right. I mean,
look at that. Label. You just blew a Bud Light, Angela. Thanks a lot.
Cover the label.
My bad, guys.
If you guys want us to show the beer next time, send us a check and then we'll show the beer.
My bad.
Bud Light has been reaching out for months, and Angelo forces me to show a Stella.
I'm pretty sure Anheuser-Busch has that deal. Anyway, it should be a fun fight. It should be a gunslinger. I'm legit looking forward to it. I don't have Jeremy Stephens in my lineup, but he should be in my lineup. And honestly, we'll see what happens with weigh-ins, and if there's drops, and I'll probably work them in. Before you go, check out the description below. In there, we have links to our Facebook, our Twitter, our Instagram, and more importantly, to our DraftKings League. Check out the league, join the league, participate in the contests, and as we get going and as you start winning, we're going to start handing out gift cards and participating and doing things like that. So check those out. Every week, there are drops on every fight card. So make sure you check out this channel and our social media on Saturday before the fights start so that you have our most updated lineups and picks.